Hello and welcome to Yes, You Are Brave. This is a podcast where we're going to set off on a journey together to find and build our brave, where we explore all the ways that you have been brave and all the ways that you can be brave again. Because even though we may have forgotten or we may have fallen out of practice, we're all brave. And I'm on a mission to prove it and help you believe that yes, you are brave. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Yes, You Are Brave. I'm Pawnee, I'm your host. Super excited that you are here. Let's talk brave. So I have had this episode in my back pocket for a while, and honestly, I was just preoccupied with other things a little bit last minute, but I am super excited to talk about this. I want to talk about being brave enough to be like the moon. So we are going to talk about some lessons that we can learn from the moon, and that may sound a bit strange, but hear me out. There's some really amazing things that we can learn from the moon. So please don't mistake this for like scientific facts and stuff about the moon. I know that there's lots of things about the moon. We know lots of them, but this isn't by any means supposed to be facts. It's just supposed to be things that we can learn about the moon. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is that first lesson from the moon on Brave is to keep your own schedule. So I know that I think it's so fascinating in the heavens or in the sky, how everything kind of just like operates on its own time and according to like what it's doing, right? None of the planets have the same orbit. None of them have the same, everything is just so different, but it works together so well. And I feel like the moon is very much the same. Like the moon is on its own schedule. It's different than the sun, and while the moon is of course influenced by the sun and also by the earth, the moon I feel like it just does its own thing and it's on its own schedule. So I think it is very brave to live your life on your own schedule. And I don't necessarily just mean the day-to-day. I mean also the fact that like it's okay to be where you're at in your life, even if it's not where other people are or where you thought you would be or where you would like to be. We're all on our own schedule, and that's totally fine. All right, second thing, lesson from the moon is no matter what phase of your life you're in, you can still shine. You don't have to be whole to shine. So I think that sometimes we have this idea that like, oh, when this happens, then I will be happy. Or when I get to this point, then I will start working on whatever it is. We tend to put things off because we think we're not in a good enough place to actually do them. We don't start reaching out to other people because we don't think we have the time, or we just have all of these excuses because we feel like we're not completely where we want to be, so we can't do these other things. But I think it's very, very amazing thing that we can learn from the moon is that you don't have to be whole to shine. You can shine no matter what phase of your life you're in, and it doesn't always have to be a lot. It can be just a little bit at a time, and it's still wonderful, and it's still amazing, and it's still beautiful. So that is one thing that I would encourage you to do is it doesn't matter what phase of life you're in. It doesn't matter what you're doing or if you're not where you want to be. Just tell that perfectionism that it can go sit in the corner and you just go ahead and shine right where you're at, no matter where that is. All right, number 3 about lessons from the moon is going to be you show up when you're ready and you leave when it's time. The one thing that I think is so fun about the moon is that it just like, depending on the time of year, depending on whatever, it like rises at different times and it sets at different times. And there's just, like I said, I guess it kind of goes along with like keeping your own schedule. Like you show up when you're ready. The moon just shows up when it's ready. Sometimes it's 6 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes it's 9. Shows up when it's ready and it leaves when it's time. So I would encourage you to show up when you're ready and to leave when it's time. Most importantly, I think also show up, besides showing up, yes, we need to show up, but also to leave when it's time. The moon doesn't hang around longer than it needs to. It doesn't stay to try to keep people happy or whatever. When it's time to go, the moon goes. When it's time to be done, it's done. And it does not stay longer than it needs to. The next lesson from the moon is you don't have to give all of the time. And this kind of goes back to the phases, being in phases and you can still shine. But also, you don't have to give your all of the time. The moon is not full all of the time. Now, like I said, this is not scientific, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I know that technically the moon is just the same all the time. We only see part of it. Don't really care. But you don't have to give your all of the time. There are phases, there are cycles for a reason. You don't have to be shining your biggest, brightest, fullest, most amazing, beautiful self all the time. It's okay to spend time in those other phases, to be just a sliver of what you can be at times for a season. Take a break, take a rest, and then come back and build up and be that big, beautiful, bright self when you are ready and when you are capable. You don't have to give your all of the time. It's not necessary. So please stop killing yourself thinking you have to be everything to everybody all of the time. You don't. You don't. Next lesson from the moon. Darkness is required to shine. It has to be dark for the moon to shine. Because the moon is there all the time, right? We see the moon during the day, but the moon doesn't really shine during the day. The moon shines at night, and the darker it gets, the brighter the moon can shine. When the sun goes down, then the moon comes out, not necessarily comes out, but starts to shine, starts to glow, starts to be this big, beautiful, bright thing in the sky. The darker it gets, the brighter the moon shines. And the darker it gets in the world and in your life, the brighter you have the opportunity to shine. But remember that sometimes it has to be dark for you to shine. If it was sunshine all the time, we wouldn't really appreciate the moon, I think, as much as we do. Because the moon shines in the dark. It is the light that takes us through the night and is there for us when the sun is not there. And I think that is something to keep in mind and to take from the moon. So sometimes we have to have dark as well as light, but we can still shine in the dark. Next lesson is your worth and value does not depend on people seeing you. Now, I want to say that again because I feel like this is maybe one of the most important lessons we can learn from the moon is that your worth and your value does not depend on other people seeing you or seeing your worth and value. The importance of the moon, the things that the moon does, doesn't depend on whether or not we can see it. Okay? As little people on this planet looking up at that big, beautiful ball in the sky, the moon does not become less because we don't see it. And there are lots of reasons we don't see the moon. Part of it is going to be, yes, there are lots of reasons we don't see the moon. We don't see the moon sometimes because of the phase that it is in. When there is a new moon, it is very hard to see. And sometimes we don't see the moon because there are clouds. There's lots of reasons we may not see the moon. But it does not change the worth and the value of the moon just because we don't see it. And just because people don't see who you are and what you're doing with your life does not diminish the value of what you are doing with your life. Does not diminish your value, and your worth is not dependent on what they see. Because people will see what they want to see. That's something that I have come to learn. People are going to see whatever they want to see. So if they want to see the bad in you, that's exactly what they're going to see, even if they have to make some of it up. So don't worry about what other people are seeing in you. Your worth does not change based on their perception and their limited understanding. Please, please, please don't let that diminish your value and how you see yourself. The next lesson, leading right in, kind of going along exactly with that, is you matter. We each have a special purpose. We each have a special thing to contribute. And a lack of understanding of your purpose by others does not diminish or change your purpose. You're here for a reason. And you have great things to contribute to this world. And just because somebody else doesn't understand what it is or what you're trying to do, or they don't have the vision to see what it is you're trying to do, does not make it less important. Other people's inability to understand does not change the importance of what you're doing. Because there's always going to be, just like people will see what they want to see, there's always going to be somebody that just doesn't understand. It doesn't make sense to them. And a lot of times it's because they won't put forth the effort to understand. But it doesn't matter. You have great things to do in this world, and it doesn't matter if other people understand. It doesn't matter if people don't necessarily support you. It doesn't matter if it just doesn't seem important to them. If it feels important to you and you feel that that's what you have been called to this earth to do, then you go out and you do it because it is important and it matters. You matter. And what you're doing matters. Please don't forget that. Please don't let that be small. You are not meant to be small. You are meant to do great things. And I realize that sometimes when we say you're meant to do great things, that can be really scary. And sometimes we want to shrink from that. But great things are not always as big and as scary as sometimes they are in our heads. Yes, we're here to change the world, but we don't have to change the entire world all at once. We get to change a little bit at a time, and we get to influence those people around us where we're at, and that is can have a ripple effect. So as long as you are doing what you are called to do, then you know what? It doesn't matter what other people understand about it. It just matters that you know that you matter and you're important, and what you are doing matters as well. Don't let other people's lack of understanding hold you back. That kind of leads into the next thing of the effects of what you do may not be completely understood. Now, I used to teach several different settings, but in the first place that I taught, I had heard things about the full moon. Okay, and I realized that they say scientifically there is absolutely no reason that the full moon should affect human behavior. But anybody that works with people will tell you that the full moon affects human behavior. Anybody in emergency services, anybody that works in a hospital, anybody that works in a school will tell you that it affects human behavior. They say more babies are born around the full moon. I will tell you that when I taught at the school for troubled kids, there would be days when I would be like, what in the world is going on? Because there were certain days of the week that the kids were a little bit more rowdy, but it would be like a random Thursday and nothing happening that I could tell why the kids were acting crazy, but the kids were crazy. And I remember several times that would happen and I'd be like, what in the world is going on? I would mention it to the staff around me and they'd be like, it's a full moon. And I'm like, oh yes, that makes sense. So just because the effects aren't completely understood doesn't mean that they're not happening, right? Like I said, that you look it up and people will say, oh, there's no scientific reason, there's no evidence, blah, 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 that the full moon has effect on human behavior and how things work and stuff like that. Well, maybe not. Just because we haven't figured it out yet. But like I said, anybody that works in emergency services or hospitals or schools, you see that effect on human behavior, even if it's not completely understood. So you can have some amazing effects on people, and it might not be completely understood by you or other people. And going along with that is you can have some crazy far-reaching effects as well. The moon doesn't care that it's way up there in the sky. It still has an impact here on Earth and has a big impact. Okay, so yes, there are the things that we don't quite understand and maybe we will never understand scientifically. But then there's other things that we do, like the tides are controlled by the moon. Took me a long time to understand this. and I'm not 100% sure that I do, but the tides are controlled by the moon, right? You can have some crazy far-reaching effects in this world that you may never ever see. Not sure that the moon really sees, well, all of the effects. Probably if the moon were actually sees things, it probably does see the tides go in and out. But the effects can be super far reaching. So please don't ever diminish what you can do, the thought of what you can do, because you never know how far reaching those effects can go and how many people you can influence and the good that you can do just by being you. Because the moon does all this stuff. Again, it's just hanging up there in the sky. Not really worried about us, but it does have a huge impact on us here on our little planet. And the last lesson that I wanted to touch on from the moon is about being steady. The moon is, for all of its craziness and all of its seeming unpredictability, is very steady. Yes, the schedule's kind of its own, and yes, it seems like one day it's in one part of the sky and the next day it's in another, but it is very steady. It cycles through the same cycles every time. It goes, it waxes, it wanes. We can know where it's going to be in the sky. The moon is very steady. And I would say that we also need to be steady. But we need to be steady not just in the big crazy things, but also in the small and simple things. Because I have really come to learn that it's not these leaps and bounds that gets us where we want to go. It's really not. It's these little, tiny, consistent steps over time that really get us where we want to go. Sometimes it's really brave to just keep showing up day after day and doing the little things. The little things that are going to add up to be the big, huge things eventually, right? What's the idea of compound interest where it just keeps growing and growing? It's the little things that are going to get us there. It's the being steady. It's the showing up every day and working on it a little bit at a time. That's what gets us where we want to go. And that is hard sometimes to do because it's not sexy. The things a lot of times that get us where we want to go, they're not sexy. They're not cool. They're just the everyday little mundane things and habits that we develop that get us where we want to go eventually. And they're awesome, but they're also not that exciting. So those are some of the lessons on Brave that I wanted to talk about that we can learn from the moon. And I'm sure that there are so many more. There are lots and lots of lessons that we can learn, and lessons come from wherever they come from everywhere. If we are open to learning, there are lessons to be learned from basically everything. Those are just some lessons from Brave. Lessons on Brave from the moon. So I hope you enjoy this week. I know it's a little bit longer than normal, but I really think that we can learn so much from the world around us and the world above us. So remember that you are wonderful, you are amazing, you are awesome, and yes, you are brave. You are brave, my friend, brave enough to be like the moon, brave enough to shine in this dark world, brave enough to believe in your own worth and continue on the good things that you are doing, even if people around you don't understand. Because you have the ability to change the world, one life, one smile, one kind word at a time. You're amazing. I love you. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed what you've heard today, please leave a review down below and share this with anyone that you feel like could use a little more brave in their life. And if you'd like to follow more of my journey to be brave, you can follow me on social media and the link down below. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to be brave.